The disappearance of paper money from your wallet is not a technological evolution. It is a meticulously orchestrated financial coup, and you are the target. It happens so gradually you barely notice. A coffee shop that no longer accepts bills. An online prompt to link your bank account for faster checkout. A news report praising the latest contactless innovation. Each is presented as a small step forward, a minor convenience. But these are not isolated events. They are the coordinated footsteps of an agenda, marching us all toward a predetermined destination. They tell us a story, a polished and reassuring narrative broadcast on every screen. They tell us cash is cumbersome, a relic of a bygone era. They tell us it's dirty, a carrier of germs and filth, a risk in an age obsessed with sanitation. They lean into your fear. More insidiously, they tell you cash is the tool of evil. It is the lifeblood of the drug dealer, the tax evader, the terrorist. They paint a world where every crime, from the petty to the grand, is funded by a stack of anonymous bills. And who would argue against a safer world? Who would defend a tool used by criminals? The solution they offer is so elegant, so modern, so convenient. A digital world, a world of seamless transactions, where your phone or a card is all you need. A world where the economy is transparent, where governments can efficiently track illicit funds and ensure everyone pays their fair share. They call it progress. They call it security. They call it the inevitable future. They have spent billions crafting this narrative, repeating it until it settles into the public consciousness as an unquestionable truth. They have weaponized the very idea of convenience against you. But this narrative, as comforting and modern as it sounds, is a facade. It is the most sophisticated lie ever sold to a global population. To understand what is truly happening, you must ask the one question they never want you to ask. What do we lose when we lose cash? The answer is not convenience. The answer is everything. The war on cash has nothing to do with crime or progress. This is a deliberate campaign to strip you of your last vestige of financial freedom and privacy. It is a project to herd the entire global population into a digital prison. A prison with no bars, no walls, and no guards, because you will carry your cell in your own pocket. In this prison, every single transaction you make is monitored, logged, and analyzed. The book you buy, the coffee you drink, the donation you make to a political cause, all of it becomes a permanent, unerasable entry in a ledger tied directly to your identity. Your entire economic life becomes an open book for them to read at will. Think of what that means. The true power of cash is its anonymity. It is a peer-to-peer transaction that requires no third-party permission. It is offline. It is private. It is freedom. When you hand a $20 bill to a farmer at a market for their produce, that transaction exists only between the two of you. No corporation takes a fee. No government database records your dietary choice. No algorithm profiles you as a certain type of consumer. That simple, powerful freedom is precisely what they intend to eliminate. In the future they are building, your ability to buy and sell will no longer be a right. It will be a privilege, granted or revoked at a moment's notice. Did you attend a protest they deemed unacceptable? Your ability to buy gasoline could be suspended. Did you post an opinion online that contradicts the official narrative? Perhaps your grocery purchases will be restricted. Did you donate to a cause that seeks to challenge their power? A single keystroke could freeze your entire net worth, leaving you unable to buy a loaf of bread. This is not a slippery slope fallacy, it is the logical endpoint of a system of absolute control. The technology is not the problem is the centralized power that technology enables. And who are the architects of this invisible prison? Have you ever wondered why governments, global financial corporations, and supranational bodies all seem to be pushing this same agenda in perfect lockstep? Is it merely a coincidence? Or is it the result of a shared interest? Governments crave the power of absolute surveillance and taxation. Global payment processors like Visa and MasterCard stand to profit from every single transaction that is forced onto their networks, eliminating their only true competitor, physical cash. And behind them, the ideologues at institutions like the World Economic Forum and the Bank for International Settlements are drawing up the blueprints, openly discussing a Great Reset and the necessity of digital IDs linked to central bank digital currencies. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy fact, hidden in plain sight within their own white papers and policy documents. They speak of programmable money, a currency that can be coded to expire if you don't spend it, or blocked from being used for certain items. This isn't merely a new form of payment. It is a tool for social engineering and behavioral control on a scale never before imagined. They are not hiding their intentions, they are simply counting on you not paying attention. They are counting on you to be too distracted by the promise of convenience to see the chains being forged around you. The elimination of physical money is the critical first step. It is the linchpin of the entire structure of control. Without it, their plans for a fully monitored, centrally planned society cannot succeed. Cash is the emergency exit. It is the escape hatch from the digital panopticon. By pushing to eliminate it, they are not simply updating the financial system. They are sealing the exits. They are demolishing the last door that stands between your individual sovereignty and their absolute authority. The question now is, will you watch them do it? They would have you believe it is all a coincidence, a happy accident of progress. They tell you that governments are simply trying to modernize, to fight crime and collect taxes more efficiently. They say the banks and financial corporations are merely innovating, competing in a free market to offer you more convenience. And they want you to think that the pronouncements from globalist institutions like the World Economic Forum are just academic thought exercises, idle talk from Davos summits with no bearing on your real life. This is the greatest deception. These are not separate actors moving independently. They are the interlocking gears of a single, colossal machine being assembled in plain sight. To see the truth, you must stop looking at the individual gears and see the machine for what it is. A perfectly designed architecture of total control. And every machine has its architects. Let us begin at the top of the pyramid, in the quiet, climate-controlled boardrooms where the true blueprints are drawn. Here we find the architects-in-chief, the world's central banks and their coordinating body, the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, in Basel, Switzerland. The BIS is the central bank for central banks, an unaccountable, supranational entity that operates beyond the reach of any democratic process. They don't speak in headlines, they speak in white papers and policy documents. And if you dare to read what they write, they will tell you their intentions with chilling clarity. In their own reports on central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, the general manager of the BIS, Augustin Carstens, made a statement that should freeze the blood in your veins. He said that with a CBDC, the central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability, and we will have the technology to enforce that. Read that again, absolute control. He went on to explain that, unlike cash, they will know the exact identity of every person using their digital currency. This is not a guess. This is not a theory. This is the head of the world's most powerful banking institution openly stating the endgame. The CBDC they are building is not an upgrade to money. It is the invention of a programmable leash. But architects need builders. They need corporations to lay the rails and erect the walls of the digital prison. Enter the direct beneficiaries, the global payment processors like Visa and MasterCard, and the asset management behemoths like BlackRock. Their motive is far simpler to understand: profit and the elimination of competition. Every time you tap your card or your phone, they take a percentage. It is a private tax on the economy. What is the one thing that stands in their way? The one payment system that requires no intermediary and generates no fee for them? Cash. Physical money is their mortal enemy. For decades, they have spent billions on lobbying and marketing to convince you that cash is obsolete and that their networks are the future. They are not merely building an alternative, they are actively working with governments to make their system mandatory. They are the private contractors building the infrastructure of control, and in return, they are granted a state-sanctioned monopoly over the financial life of every single citizen. Of course, the builders cannot operate without permission and enforcement. This is the role of the governments, the willing wardens of this new panopticon. Why would they agree to this? Because it offers them the two things all states crave above all else: absolute surveillance and a frictionless power to tax. In a cashless society, the very concept of an under-the-table transaction, a private exchange, or an untaxed sale ceases to exist. Every economic act, no matter how small, becomes a data point for the state to analyze and a potential source of revenue. Look at the laws they are already passing. India's demonetization, limits on cash transactions in France, Greece, and Spain. They use the ever-present excuse of fighting terrorism and tax evasion, the same narrative we discussed before. They create a problem, criminal activity, and then offer a solution that happens to grant them unprecedented power over the law-abiding population. They are not protecting you from criminals, they are turning you into a captive, perfectly auditable subject. Finally, every great and terrible project needs its ideologues. It needs a philosophical justification, a utopian vision to mask the dystopian reality. This is the role of the World Economic Forum. When Klaus Schwab speaks of the Great Reset, or declares that by 2030, you will own nothing and you'll be happy, he is not just an eccentric billionaire. He is providing the intellectual and moral cover for this entire agenda. The WEF promotes concepts like digital ID, social credit scores, and carbon footprint tracking. And what is the one prerequisite for all of these systems of social engineering to function? The abolition of cash and the mandatory adoption of a traceable, programmable, state-controlled digital currency. Do you see it now? The pieces are not scattered, they are connected by a sinister logic. The WEF provides the vision. The central banks and the BIS design the weapon, the CBDC. The global corporations build the infrastructure to deploy it, and the governments provide the legal force to make it inescapable. It is a public-private partnership from hell, a diabolical synergy between corporate greed and state ambition for power. They have a shared interest in demolishing the last remnants of your economic freedom. Eliminating cash is not the end goal. It is merely the act of breaking down the main gate, so they can herd every man, woman, and child into their perfectly controlled digital enclosure. They have the blueprint. They have assembled the alliance. They are forging the weapon. But what does life actually look like once the gate of this digital prison slams shut behind you? In the final chapter, we will look directly into the future they have planned for you, and discover if there is any way left to fight back. They promise you a future of seamless convenience. They have let you imagine it yourself. A world where your phone is your wallet, where a simple tap pays for your coffee, where budgets are tracked automatically, and where physical currency, with all its mess and germs, is a relic of the past. They want you to see this as your liberation. Do not be deceived. The future they are building is not one of liberation. It is the most perfect prison ever designed, precisely because its walls are invisible and its bars are forged from the very convenience you have been taught to crave. Let us step into this future for a moment. Not the sanitized version from their commercials, but the lived reality once the last cash transaction has been made, and the gates of the digital enclosure have slammed shut. Imagine you are at a grocery store. Your cart is full. The total comes up on the screen. You tap your phone, expecting the familiar, satisfying chime of a successful payment. But this time, a different message appears. Transaction denied. You try again. Denied. The cashier looks at you with a mixture of pity and suspicion. The people in line behind you are growing impatient. It is not a system error. The message on your banking app is chillingly clear. Your account is temporarily restricted pending a review of recent social activity. What was your crime? Perhaps you attended a protest the government disapproved of. The cameras with facial recognition placed you there. Perhaps you donated a small amount to a political cause or an independent media outlet that has been flagged as problematic. Or maybe you simply exceeded your weekly carbon allowance by buying too much red meat, and the system, as designed, has now locked you out of purchasing non-essential, but high-impact goods. There is no one to appeal to. There is no manager to call. Your link to the economy, your ability to feed your family, has been severed by an algorithm, based on a rule you never agreed to, enforced by an authority you cannot question. This is not a fine. This is a digital excommunication. This is the reality of programmable money, the central bank digital currency they are so eager to implement. It is money with strings attached, strings that are held by them. They will have, in the words of the Bank for International Settlements itself, absolute control. Your money might be programmed with an expiry date to force you to spend it and stimulate the economy on their terms. It could be restricted from being spent on things they deem harmful, from firearms to fossil fuels to books they consider subversive. What begins as a tool to fight crime inevitably becomes a tool to enforce conformity. Your financial life ceases to be your own. It becomes a system of rewards and punishments designed to engineer your behavior. Every single transaction you make leaves a permanent, indelible record. They will know which doctor you visit, what pharmacy you use, what books you read, who you associate with. They are not just building a financial profile, they are mapping your soul. In their world, financial privacy is not a right, it is a liability they have worked systematically to eliminate. The anonymous, peer-to-peer exchange of a $20 bill is the last bastion of true economic freedom. It is a transaction that requires no permission, leaves no trace, and belongs only to the two people involved. And that is precisely why they must destroy it. This is not a distant, dystopian nightmare. The laws are being passed now. The pilot programs are being rolled out now. The propaganda campaign telling you cash is for criminals is in full swing. The architecture is nearly complete. They have presented you with a choice between the perceived inconvenience of freedom and the seductive ease of servitude. They are counting on you to choose servitude. So what is to be done? To know the blueprint of your cage is the first step to dismantling it. Hope is not lost, but the time for complacency is over. The struggle for the future is not on a physical battlefield, it is a battle for awareness, and it is fought by every one of us. Here is where the resistance begins. First, you must awaken to the true cost of convenience. Recognize the narrative for what it is, a sales pitch for your own enslavement. Every time you hear them speak of a safer or more modern, cashless society, you must learn to hear the silent subtext, a more controllable society. Second, educate yourself and others. Look up the term central bank digital currency, or CBDC, and the name of your own country. You will not find this information on the front page of the news, but you will find it on the official websites of the central banks themselves. They are telling you what they are planning to do. It is our duty to read it, to understand it, and to expose it. Third, and most critically, use cash. Turn the simple act of payment into a powerful act of defiance. When you buy groceries, pay with notes and coins. When you buy coffee, use cash. Every physical transaction you make is a vote. It is a vote for privacy, a vote for autonomy, a vote for freedom from a system of total control. Your wallet is not just a wallet, it is a ballot box. Make your vote count. Finally, you must break the silence. The greatest weapon they have is the public's ignorance and apathy. They are counting on the fact that these topics seem too complex, too boring, or too conspiratorial for the average person to care about. You must prove them wrong. Share this knowledge. Have these uncomfortable conversations with the people you trust. Send this message to your friends and family. The battle for awareness is the most important battle of our time, and it is a battle we cannot afford to lose. Removing cash is only the first step. It is the demolition of the outer wall. In our next transmission, we will delve deeper into the core programming of the CBDCs themselves. It is not just about money, it is about behavior. How, specifically, do they plan to control what you can and cannot buy? Who gets to write the rules? And what does it mean for humanity when our very ability to transact is tied to a social credit score? The leash is being forged. We must understand exactly how it works before it is fastened around our necks.